Hello, adventurers. My name is Roy of Dark Alchemy. Tonight we'll be doing a Dungeons and Dragons question and answer that was sent into us by one of our followers on Instagram. I am joined by my fellow Dark Alchemist, the Dead Professor Scott.
Hello, everybody.
And our forever DM, David.
How we doing?
Okay, so this was sent into us by a gentleman which we met at a convention, and he's been buying some of our Dark Alchemy products and has been kind of following along and started up a conversation with us about being a basic dungeon master. And so these questions might seem simple, but if you've never come across them, they might be a little more difficult. So our first question is, and I'll put this out to the professor and DM Evanson. If my monster can make multiple attacks, is the first attack kills a player, can I then attack another player? Or do I basically have to commit all my attacks to one player and then anything else would be wasted? So do you have to commit all the attacks, or do you do one attack at a time if the monster has multiple attacks?
Oh, well, you do them all one at a time, and if he drops on the first attack, then you could, maybe not obvious, you could attack anyone else within range. Now, you might want to continue attacking, especially if that's the key party member, maybe keeping everyone alive, like the cleric, and for dramatic purposes, maybe. But yeah, absolutely, you could attack other players.
Yeah, it's important to note, just like a player, you can attack. You can then move between your attacks. There's nothing to restrict you. So you could attack, drop somebody, move 10 feet, drop somebody else, or not drop them, move again. Maybe you take an attack of opportunity if that person was still standing, and attack a third person if you have 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use another example. There's a dragon, a red dragon. He flies down, he swipes somebody. He can then move and attack somebody else, and maybe for his last attack, he could breathe fire on everybody if he has an option available. And he has 3 attacks.
I think breathing fire is the action as opposed to attack is the multi-action.
Okay,
but I can check.
So that's an extreme example because I feel like that's happened to us. But for a basic monster that might have 3 attacks, just say it's 3 sword stabs, so you can stab. So DM Evanson, as a dungeon master, if somebody gets knocked down on the first attack and goes to 0 hit points, would that monster then be able to stab them on the ground and try to finish them?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, especially early on. It could be a little brutal. But if you're playing a real hardcore game and you want to kill characters, or they're in that big boss fight and the boss knows, the strengths of the characters, he may, because then they have to use some high-level magic to res them, or at the very least, there's one less player and make it that much tougher.
Not only can they, but they have advantage, and it's 2 failed death saves if they're hit.
Yes.
Okay.
Two failed death saves. Any even if it's a area effect, they auto fail. They take
real
damage.
Easy to die when you're down.
Yeah,
it's real easy to die when you're down.
So and again, the dragon question.
Go ahead.
To touch base on that. As an action, they can take a multi attack. It makes 3 rend attacks. It can replace one of those attacks by casting Scorching Ray if it's a red dragon. So he could do 2 claws and a Scorching Ray, or he could do breath weapon because that's a full action.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's good to know.
He could do 3, and he could move between each of the 3.
Yeah. And as a new dungeon master, you don't want to assassinate and put down your players. You knock them down, you give them a chance to get up. That's a more gentleman way to play. If you're playing hardcore, then maybe. But so that is the answer. So
I think you've got to have a specific reason for an NPC to keep attacking a character.
Yeah.
Or it's completely rational for an animal to keep attacking something when it's down.
I like that.
Right?
That's a good point.
A wolf, because the wolf's claw knocks you down, it's not going to stop attacking you. So there is that fine line where the dungeon master has to decide, do I really want to kill a character who's fighting a pack of wolves, or some creature maybe a wolf is a bad example, but
I think that is a good a very good point.
Whereas I feel like an orc or a goblin, once you're down, they're more concerned about the threat that's up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or they might just try to loot you and run away. You know what I mean? So you don't have, which could be just as effective. You take their sword and run away.
Yeah,
You
I
just
like
as
that. I like
devastating.
that.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we have our next question as we turn the page on our book here. How do I make item buffs without making them too powerful? For example, a food or a concoction. So I guess you want to give out something in addition to basic magic items. You see this a lot in video games. There might be a magic tea or a magic omelet or a concoction that they make up harvesting monster parts. What do you think about the DM, Evanson?
This is probably one of the hardest things to balance, is giving players cool things without ruining the game or making their own abilities not as good. So it's a delicate thing. For new DMs, I'd recommend giving away temporary buffs so that if it does become overpowered, it will be temporary. It's a week, a month, or whatever long. Your first attack combat will let whatever it is, and then you could rebalance it. You go, oh, that was too strong. I could tone it down and maybe give it to him again for a longer period of time.
Okay.
But it's a delicate balance. But a key thing is you don't want to give anything that's like, oh, I'm just going to use this and not my spells because this is so much better. And then then they're nullify all their stuff. So it's a little give and take. There's a lot out there, lots of magic books and stuff, but even some of those could tip the scale. So it's
in this case where he's talking about like food and concoctions, maybe he's talking about an elixir or some sort of minor potion or something. I think anything that is reproducible by basically their level of spell casting. So if you're first level and you want to give them a food that buffs their hit points, basically it's like false life, so it's going to be around 5 hit points. Now, 5 hit points at first level could be 50% more hit points for most characters. That's a realistic buff. They could do it with a spell, but not many first level characters are going to use a spell slot for that.
Okay.
What
about making a concoction, a food or an elixir that lets them, based on their level, like they only have access to first level spells, but now it's going to allow them to get into a different class of spells. So I have a fighter, but I'm going to have access to maybe a single use of cure light that's not a potion, or a single detect good or evil or something like that based on a concoction. So you're not allowing them in their own class, but you're allowing them a basic buff from an other class. Do you think that crosses the line?
I would not allow you to have a spell slot for a basic level food or concoction. That is, if you take a first level spell slot, that is 30% or first level, 50% of a wizard's spellcasting power. So
it's a little bit too powerful.
Right. A potion, a cure light wound potion is 2d4 plus 2, right? So maybe they make a food and it's d4 plus 1. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And if you want to make it something they can make, I mean, the game has made crafting very easy. A couple of hours and 25 gold, and you can make a cure light, basic healing potion, right? It's just 2d4 plus 2. The cooking feat lets you get temporary hit points, I think, from the things you cook. Now, right? That's still 2014, but I can't remember.
I did like the cobbler feat, which when you work on a person's shoes,
that's a great example.
Let you move a little bit faster, right? Something like that.
Most of your craft skills, craft proficiencies have something like that now. And a lot of people overlook it.
The cobbler, I believe, allows you to move across difficult terrain and normal. So, and I believe it allows you to travel longer distance too without getting exhaustion.
I think you get less. Yeah, you can travel a longer day.
So that's huge. I mean, for just a cobbler skill, no spell, no magic.
I know.
Time. Yeah. I mean, there's also a lot of other minor food buffs you could do. You could just taking this potion or eating this food just gives you a +1 roll for the day, or it gives you advantage on a check, 5 temporary hit points, just give you +10 movement for an hour, or +1 damage for one fight. Those are very minor. You could probably get from a food buff or something like that if you made. That's not gonna crazy tip the scale, but it's gonna make the players feel like they got
a save is not going to hurt anyone. It's not going to shift the balance of power dramatically. You're talking about 5%.
I was making some characters up for our convention this weekend for Long Island Convention Horror Lich, which is going to be over this weekend, February 27, 28, March 1st. Right. So we're going to be running D&D there. And as I was making these characters up, I came across, their actual items that they have in the inventory, and I was kind of cleaning it up for the convention. And what I noticed, and which I hadn't noticed before, because I'm always trying to read the rule book, is the new edition 2024 has added a lot of little individual rules that I think you might miss. And the one I came across, speaking of pumping up foods and concoctions, I came across bedroll. A bedroll sleeps a small and medium creature. While in a bedroll, you automatically succeed saving throws against extreme cold. I did not know that, and DM Evanson has put us in some extreme cold situations, and we're always fighting it. I'm like, I just had a bedroll with me. That little buff would help. So like these little buffs do make the game interesting. Maybe there's a food that gives you
So I just looked up the chef feat, right? So if you've got a chef in your group, right, bolstering treats, you spend an hour when you're in a long rest, you make a number of treats equal to your proficiency bonus, and the people who eat them gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. So first level 2 hit points.
Yep.
Okay, but if you're a sorcerer with D6, maybe you've got 8, so 2 hit points is 25%.
Yeah. For a delicious Gush's donut.
Yes, for having a donut. Yeah. And
as long as it's not a good berry.
Here's one nobody probably remembers. As part of a short rest, you can cook a special food with your cook's utensils. And at the end of the short rest, creatures who eat the food and spend hit dice gain an extra D8 hit points.
What? It's so many little rules in the Dungeon Master Guide. Even for people like us who've been playing a long time and reading the book at night before bed and studying and stuff.
Yep.
All these little things pop up, and I think for new DMs, look for those little rules and stuff. You can't know them all, but as they pop up, maybe the players can even bring them up and be like, "Hey, Dungeon Master,
I would tell new game masters to look at the crafting equipment, because it's all got perks, and a lot of people get crafting, get that proficiency as part of their background.
Yes, and it actually has an ability.
And it's good for the DM too. So if you're planning out something, you're like, oh, this is going to take them extra time to get there, but they have the cobbler ability and they shouldn't, so it can really negate your plan. So it's good to know these things and dig into it.
I mean, how many times have we done forgery or something like that because I happen to be proficient in forger's tools?
Yeah, exactly. I'll move on to the next question. What is the most time-efficient way to make an NPC? And I'm going to add to this question a little bit. How much do you actually have to flesh out an NPC? What does that actually consist of? So I'm not sure what he's asking. If he needs an NPC that he thinks will be traveling with them, and he thinks he's going to need all those different skills, or basically you just need the bartender behind the bar. They're charismatic. They have sleight of hand and maybe some inside information, and of course they have a good cooking skill. So, but if you do want to make an NPC, does anybody have an idea of the best way to do that, and what are those resources?
So, I mean, Dave's got probably 20 books with 1,000 NPCs between those books. There's a company that sells decks of playing cards of pre-generated NPCs. There's a website called npcgenerator.com.
I'll put those links down below as an.
Literally, you hit the button. I just generated Talonwythe Taladrill. He's a 104-year-old male wood elf sailor. He has long curly black hair, soft green skin, height. Does all his stats.
And DM Evanson holding up a bunch of cards. Dave, what are those cards from?
This is from NPC Portraits deck. It is from Inkwell Ideas, and they have like NPC Tavern, they have NPC like Castle, stuff like that, and they have portraits of all these people, and then on the back they have basically their motivations, their personality, their quirks, their distinguishing features, and a quick background. So if you're really tight and you want a visual, I found this is kind of cool. It helps paint a picture for some of the people. There's table fables that they have. It has random charts to like quickly design. Page 84 now in the DM guide has a whole section of non-playable characters. You could charts to like make up their personality, and it even has a tracker, so you can really flush it out and write it down.
Okay.
There's also Game Master's book of playable characters.
What's the author in that book? I have Jeff Ashworthy. Is it
I believe.
bottom center?
Yes.
Yeah, he has a great series of books. I really enjoy all his books, and I think they're super high quality. I'm really enjoying his books.
But
does GUI Games have all the NPCs? They have pictures.
Yes.
That they have the stats on the back.
They don't. I don't think they have a book of just NPCs, but everything
And
they come out with is loaded with NPCs.
Yes,
they have bigger portraits,
Yep.
and some of it's just a quick description. It's only like a couple of lines.
okay.
But
So D&D's been around long enough that there are a ton of resources.
but
If you have a table and you need one on the fly, really, npcgenerator.com, you can click profession, you can click race. Like if you I need an Elven Ranger, it'll make you an Elven Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to have a good list of names of just so you can pull from. You have to think at the top of your head. But there's really only, if you want to make it super quick, 3 things. You need the role. What do they do? Are they the barmaid? Are they the guard? A personal hook. Maybe they're suspicious of outsiders or something, and then you just need either a secret or goal. So that'll give them enough personality. Maybe they're secretly stealing stuff off the shipments, or you could just write personality quirk. They speak loudly, they're always chewing gum or something like that. They don't make eye contact. Just some quick little things that you could build off of that. You don't need a 5-page background.
DM Evans said, let me ask you this. Behind the screen, if the NPC needs to do something, he's with them or he's going to try to pose a check. You don't have all his stats. Do you just kind of have in your head as a game master, this guy should be +1, +2, +3, and you roll a dice, and if we roll 10, 10 is good enough, or you roll a 1 or a 2, it's like, well, no matter what his plus, he's not going to succeed. Do you really care about having needing that exact stat, or do you just kind of like generally let the dice tell?
If they're a commoner, it's going to be very low, maybe +1, +2 to the roll, depending on what it is. Now, that's like if they're a thief and they try to sleight of hand, well, that's going to be significantly higher. And that depends on how good is this? Is he a child? Is he been a thief his whole life? And then at which point you could make maybe that one stat be his crutch, and then everything else is a +1, +2. It depends on what you're trying to get out of it. But I wouldn't overdo it. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless, of course, it's like a key person.
Follow up to all of this. Write it down.
Yes.
Write it all down, because 3 months from now, your players are going to remember it, and they're going to go back to that person because you said something that stuck in their head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you do introduce an NPC, he becomes a part of your game, your history, your lore. Just have a little note section for him, and then when they come back to him, then
because 3 months later, when they're like, "I want to go visit, Bob the Forger," and you're like, "Oh, who is he? Where? What did he have? I don't remember that interaction."
There's an elven male, and they're like, "No, he was a dwarf."
Yeah, and you're like, he's dead."
He's dead. All right, let me move on to the next question here as we turn our tome of questions. Oh, I did that already. Let's see. Are there different ways of running mob fights instead of the table in the Dungeon Master's Guide? So that particular table in the Dungeon Master's Guide looks at the number of monsters or creatures, and it kind of groups them into, like, if there's 5, 10, 15, 20, and then it looks at the basic armor class based on their level, and it says, okay, if there are 10 of these guys and they're going against armor class 18, 2 of them are going to auto hit. So it's an auto hit system. I've used it a few times. I like that. I've also basically put groups of 10 and kind of just given them an average instead of dropping 10d20 to roll. Although maybe I will. I'll drop a bunch of them. And then as the players do damage to them, I'll just kind of like say, I'll put a dice next to them, maybe a d6, and that might represent a block of 10 hit points. So 10, 20, 30. When you get to 40, 1 drops. So every time you get, 1, I do 5 points. It's not enough. I do 2 points. Well, you're close enough to the 1 guy drops. Dave, how do you run mobs? Do you have your own system? Do you use the rule book?
I don't use the auto hits. I just always kind of forget about that, but I don't know if I really like it either. Mm-hmm. But if there's like 10, there's 3 ways I typically could run it. If there's 10 goblins, instead of rolling 10 attacks, you could roll 3 attacks, and each hit will be 3 goblins, or so. The second method is 1 HP enemies. You know what I mean? If you just have a bunch of zombies and really there's some real key big guys, there's a giant, there's a troll, and those are the main bad guys, and these are just cannon fodder, and they're to eat up spells and hits. Just 1 HP, boom, boom, boom. That's a good way to make it go quicker. That's good for zombies, cultists, guards.
Minion.
Yeah, and then the third is you could just take 10 enemies and create 1 creature. You total HP is 1 goblin, so it's 80 HP, 4 attacks at full strength, and then once they're at half strength, they have 2 attacks. So you could do something like that, and then once they get down to like another number, then you could do individuals or something.
You're almost making the mob a single monster, and then the attacks get reduced as the damage here.
So it's really the 4th edition mob rule or minion rule, I think it was called, where 1 hit point. So you could have 20 goblins in addition to your, maybe it's an ogre or something like that, or 3 ogres and 20 minions. So you
lost you again.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on then.
All right, we have our next question in our tomb, and it's not a magical question. It is a fishing question. DM Evanson, how would you handle a fishing scenario? What ability check would you use to, say, cast a line or to fish with a hook? Well, for me, I think it's survival, but do you have more to add to that?
No, I definitely agree with that. It would be a survival. I wouldn't roll for casting it, but for catching the fish, I would. Just make DCs, DC 5, you get a small fish, DC 10, 1d4 fish, DC 15, a big fish, DC 20, a rare fish. You can add a little bit of modifiers, like it's a well-stocked river, it's +2, bad weather, -2, you have good bait, +2, stuff like that. But
it's all about the DCs then.
Yeah,
so that's the difficulty challenge rating, right?
Yes. Yeah. And or if you want to what best bait to use, you could use natures instead of survival. But yeah, I think survival would be the best.
Would you throw a random encounter if they rolled a 1, like a boot comes up or maybe a monster comes up or something?
Yeah, maybe if you rolled a 1, you find like a rusted sword or a boot like that. Yeah, that'd be kind of funny. I don't know if you need to turn it into a fight encounter, but
no, I know. There's always random encounters though.
If this is something players care about,
yeah, you don't want to make. Yeah, I wouldn't make it so that they never want to fish because they're afraid of rolling a 1 and a crocodile comes out every time.
So here's a full fishing mini game if it's what players want to do.
Oh wow, where'd you find that, Professor?
So I'm on a Patreon, and it's what the heck is the Patreon called? It's a great question. The Patreon is Better Spellcasting, I think it's called, or something like that.
Okay.
Spellcaster. That's like $3 a month or something simple like that. But every day or two, they send out something like this. So I don't know if you can scroll through it, Roy, or not. I uploaded the PDF. Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
Where are you fishing? What type of gear do you have? What type of bait do you have?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what Evanson was saying. Yeah,
that's funny.
So we are in, like we say this all the time, we're in the golden age of gaming, right?
Yeah.
There is something for just about every question you have out there.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just do a little diving.
Cool. Yep. I like it. All right, moving on to checking our scroll book. For every monster that is defeated, do you usually roll for individual treasure on most of them? I feel my players are getting a lot of gold for their level. They're almost level 7 with around 1,000 gold pieces.
That is not, that's not that high. I think level 7 is, they should have around 1,000 to 3,000 gold.
I'll find it. I'm looking it up right now.
Is there actual recommended chart?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's in the DM's guide.
Okay. So let me jump in on this. When they hit certain levels to be able to get the Bastion, right? What level? Bastion's level 5?
Yes.
Bastion is a way to make your players spend money. If you give them a little money and they want a home base, They want to build a castle. It's going to cost them some money to do it. It might generate benefits of money too. Maybe they want to start a business where they have to invest a couple thousand into it, and then they get maybe 100 a month or 50 a month back. But they have the ownership of that location. Some people enjoy drawing maps. They could map out the location. Some people want to 3D print the actual building. Some people want to maybe design it out of foam and be able to put down on a table, even if there's no adventure there, they put down this tavern and be like, this is our home base. And they're just sitting there talking about it, and they get their ownership. Also now, as they start to upgrade spells and they start to upgrade items, that costs money. Maybe they're going to create a magic sword. Maybe the wizard wants to start transcribing spells. Maybe they want to have some followers. Maybe they want to run for political office, get involved with the nobles. All that costs money. So even if you accidentally give them a lot of money, you can make them spend money through the adventure, and they'll enjoy spending the money, right?
Yeah.
DM Everson, what do you think about that?
I agree totally. There's also, the character's lifestyle. If they live, when you build your character, it has the cost of your daily to maintain your lifestyle. I think it's like a gold, 2 gold, or whatever. So you can make, if they don't have a bastion and they're in a home or they're not out foraging, you can make them spend that. Hey, it's been a week. You got to spend your 2 gold a day or whatever, and that's a good way to start depleting them. But once they get a bastion, it kind of gets rid of all that anyway.
Yeah.
So in the Dungeon Master's Guide, between the Dungeon Master's Guide and Xanathar's, the estimate is a 7th level character at the start of 7th level should have about 5,000 gold.
Even higher.
Okay. Sounds good.
It goes up very quickly. So 5th level is like 700. 6th level is like 3,000. 7th level is 5. 8th is almost 9. 9th is 12. So
yeah. Well, as they go up in levels, they should be more involved with the realm. They're not just simple fighters or low-level wizards. They're actually, defenders of the realm, knights with no names, or bards who have been ringing songs, and they start to get that renown also, right? I mean, that's a big part of it. And also, speaking what DM Evanson said, where if they choose a 2 gold piece a day lifestyle because they want to live, kind of high on the hog, the dungeon master should then decide how much downtime there is. I played adventures where I went straight through. It seems like there wasn't even a day break where we could relax. And our current campaign, The Age of Secrets, I'm enjoying where a week or 2 goes by and you have to count for your lifestyle. You have to pay some money. But, I'm actually, doing spellbook stuff where you said you were in the bastion for a month. Well, good. I think my character would want to relax in a month. And you don't actually role play that. That could be like a 5-minute conversation. Hey, guys, a month has gone by. What have you done in that month? And I might even say, well, I was just studying and working on a new spell or transcribing a scroll, and I was just relaxing, enjoying the city. Okay, that's your role playing. Now, here's kind of next adventure hook. So I think adding downtime as a game master is important too, and keeping track of that downtime.
It gives them a chance to spend that gold, and then
and downtime can be as detailed as the game master wants. I mean, you can do a day by day of downtime, or you can say, all right, 2 weeks have gone by. What did you do? And it's a 30-second blip. So you can go either way.
Yeah. So I guess part of that question is when they defeat the monster, how much treasure should a monster have? Should it be based on the whatever the adventure says? Or should you just kind of go by the guidelines? I feel like when DM Evanson plays, it'll build up to a climatic ending where we maybe defeat a big bad, and it turns out, he had like a little bit of a treasure hoard. I feel like the end of the last adventure, we defeated a dungeon, and we got some stuff, right? And then we even got some blessings and some other stuff going on from the goddess, and that was like almost like a big download of stuff. So do you think it should be a big download or kind of spread out as they slowly defeat monsters? What do you think, Professor?
I think there's a dribble of both. I think it becomes a little tedious when every goblin in a dungeon has 5 copper and a silver. And then, you're tracking that all. I think it's very easy to say, okay, you defeat the 20 orcs or whatever it is, and amongst them you find 25 gold and two 10 gold piece gems. I don't think you need to go what every orc is carrying. Now, the only exception to that is if you have a player who's not party oriented and he's trying to siphon off for himself, then maybe you have to figure it out a little more detailed.
Yeah.
Oh.
If he's trying to like sleight of hand everything and steal everything, then you have to have a little more detail. But again, I don't think every monster needs to have gold on them. Does you know what I mean? So I think it's a very counter-based treasure. So it depends
Yes.
if it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
These
But cultists in a dungeon,
Yeah.
there's no reason for them to be carrying coin every day. Right?
Yeah.
They're working
Correct.
as guards. There's no reason they have coin on them. Their coin is locked up in their safe house or their cubby hole or wherever they hide it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they probably have the supplies they need. Probably have access to food, water, robes. So
Yep.
Yeah, you kill a bunch of tree blight, they don't have gold. You don't need to worry about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They don't even need to have anything, and not everything needs to be.
Now, and that's where again it goes into how deep is your world building.
Yeah.
Do you have a druid in your group that's going to harvest from the tree blight, or an herbalist that's going to try and harvest something from a tree blight to make a potion later?
Yeah, and then
And
that
you got to
would
be
be
prepared for that.
then you got to have some.
That's the treasure there. Maybe the treasure in an encounter is, maybe you fight, an ogre, and you get some ogre blood, and you can make a strength potion.
Yeah.
Or trolls, you get some troll blood, and you can make a better healing potion.
Yeah.
That's treasure in itself, but it also builds the world.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Okay, moving on to our next question from our tome number 7. If you want to make 2 landmarks far away and you want the journey between them, how do you make that journey not boring? So he's saying he has the landmarks, but you go from A to B, what happens in between? And maybe a new game master doesn't know the concept of a hex crawl, where just like you go through a dungeon, we used to have like the hexes on the map, right? And each hex is 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, what it happens to be. And there could be an encounter on each hex. The first encounter could be a survival challenge. Maybe it's a DC challenge, and that represents that day. And I don't want to put words in DM Evanson's mouth, but I feel like when Dave does these challenges, a group failure might result in a level of exhaustion, right? Like even exhaustion. Or maybe a couple days go by and then there's one random monster encounter. Original Dungeons and Dragons had these tables with random monster encounters, and if you kind of failed all your survival checks in the current edition, a monster might pop up and that might be a fight. So what do you think of that, DM Evanson? On a hex crawl, how is it not boring?
Well, knowing your world and kind of make what makes sense would be in between. If it's a big open valley and it's undiscovered, it's really open to what you want to put. But I think you just add three things in between. It depends on how long the journey. Let's say it's a week. I would just do 3 things. It'd be like an encounter, like the wagon broken down and you're attacked by wolves. And then maybe the second thing is discovery. You find an old shrine, you find a cave entrance, something to maybe make them spend more time rather than passing it up. It could be a big river that has lots of fish, and now they want to go fishing for, there could be discovery. And then a choice, a shortcut through the swamp versus the safe road. And then you give at least 3 options, and it mixes it up. It doesn't have to be like a counter, and I strongly don't recommend that. And the random encounters can be a little silly. Like, it's just like, how many times are you running into the same thing, or the monsters for the area doesn't really match for what you're trying to do. So, not the biggest fan of random encounters.
Okay, Bobby, Professor, any thoughts?
Well, I think you're almost talking about 2 different things. The hex crawl is usually wilderness, and when you have 2 points on a map, maybe he meant like road travel.
Okay.
Right? Maybe you're just traveling down the King's Highway for 80 miles, right? And it's going to take 4 days. And if that's the case, you can really just say your 4 days pass uneventfully. Yeah. You don't have to cover every day of mundane travel.
Yeah.
Right. There are probably 500 videos on YouTube about how to make travel entertaining.
Yes.
How to make travel not suck. Why travel sucks in D&D. I mean, you will see every one of those as a headline on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're all valid. They're all 100% valid, and you're going to have different players in your group like different parts of it, right? Like some of our group loves the hex crawl through the wilderness. Like when we were in the forest, and we were just grinding through the most dangerous forest in the kingdom. We expected to get into fights.
Yeah.
We expected bad things were going to happen. But we were enjoying that. We turned it into a dungeon crawl.
Yeah, and you're right. King's Highway, it should be protected. There shouldn't be that many things. So maybe one encounter at
You
most.
encounter another merchant going the other way, or like you said, you find somebody with a broken down wagon and you can choose how to help them or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good time to introduce NPC travelers. You could strange sightings, rumors, bad weather, small little mysteries along the way to maybe unfold on the world, or rumors about the next spot you're going to go to.
Yeah. So Dave, let me jump in on that. If you have an encounter where it's a fight, a lot of times a fight in a dungeon or as part of a series of fights during a day, the smaller fights drain your resources, use your spell slots, use your stuff like that, and it makes the last fight tougher. If you have a one-off encounter, they know they're going to have a long rest at the end of the day. It's almost like a waste in the sense that you're not really draining their resources. The only way it really would make sense is if it was something they haven't fought and it was like really challenging, where it almost could kill them.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it seems like really real. But I think everything you just said makes a lot of sense. And the journey from A to B should be an opportunity for world building for your world or for the book that it's in, if you're using Forgotten Realms or whatever, right? Where you do meet that merchant and he tells you about the city down the road and gives you a piece of information, especially for new players that they didn't know, that there's certain festivals happen there, or there's a rumor of this and that. I think the world building or finding that lost shrine on the road.
Did you hear and so and so passed away, and there's this is going on.
Yes,
somebody died, somebody's missing.
It's a great way to set up the next chapter or the next big reveal.
And like you said with the fight, Roy, is that 5 bandits are not going to attack a caravan. It's going to be big. They're they're only going to attack when they think they have overwhelming force. Now the player characters they were surprised because they don't expect 5th level characters to be guarding a caravan. So it might not be quite, but it should be dangerous because they're living out in the wilderness and they're attacking because they think they can win easily.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. I like that. That's a lot of good points. So even to add to her own campaign. So our next question is, I feel when my players get to new towns and the item lists are basically the same, I use the Dungeon Master's Guide for the list of items that they find in this new town. How can I find unique or useful items that are available in different towns and different cities? I think that Dungeon Master's Guide does cover this a little bit: small, medium, large, town, village, and it'll say the level of magic items you can get. So you're not going to find maybe a magic armor in a small little town.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is the Dungeon Master has many common items in it.
Yeah.
Are they going to be in every village you come across? And that's where I think Dave has done a fabulous job in our campaign of creating little things that are not game-changing in any way, but they're fun and cool. So there's a shop that sells glowing crystals and you can use them in place of a light spell. There's a shop that sells gusher donuts that your wizard can become addicted to. There's a shop that sells the truly random, useless magic items like a teapot that generates tea at the same time every day. No adventurer wants that. Mine did. In a heartbeat, I was like, I'll take it, and I immediately brought it to my family and gave it to my character's mother.
Yeah. And that's part of the world building. It makes the world. We're in a high magic world, so to find a magic teapot, it's kind of fun. And even if it's just a little 5-minute part of your story, you still remember that part of the story.
Yeah, it's world building at this point because the city should have maybe the most amount of options of things you could find, but maybe that small little village specializes in something. You got to figure out what that is. Maybe they make silver swords the best. You need silver for whatever it is. I don't think every town should be selling it. So same items, especially if you want to make it feel different.
What unique resource could be near that town that they specialize in?
Yeah, maybe there's a mine.
Make the town unique by the resources around it. Your town is on the trail, but it's near a forest. A particular type of rare wood grows in that forest, and they make excellent bows.
Yeah.
Or like you said, there's a mine so and so, and they happen, maybe they struck mithril, and they've
Yeah.
made mithril swords. Or maybe there was a meteor strike near a town, and they got star metal, and their blacksmith has figured out how to craft something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make it, make it feel unique. It's like you go to a certain town because of the best pizza. You pass 3 towns to go to that town. So just kind of look at it like that. If you want certain resources around you, you usually got to travel past another town. So it's not like every town's going to have everything. So makes it feel a little more real.
Kind of on this topic, I was listening to a video today that was talking about how big your town is in D&D, right?
Okay.
And it said we kind of all go backwards. We just pick a population, right? And say, I want my town to be 5,000 people. But they were saying that he was going back to historical texts from like the 1400s. And it was like for every 200 people that lived in a town, you had one of every service. So you had a blacksmith, a baker, a cobbler. So now think about if you have 1,000 people, you have 5 of them. If you have 10,000 people, you have 50 of each of those. If you have 100,000 people, you have 500 of each of those. So now, like we talk about, we go to the same tavern every time, but in our city there might be 200 other taverns that we never see.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point.
My town, my real town alone has about 50 taverns.
Exactly.
So yeah.
How many pizza places are within a mile of you right now?
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. A lot. Yeah.
So
they're all providing that service.
An interesting way to look at it is, how many 7-Elevens do we have within a mile of us?
And there are also many resource books, independent creators putting out content where this is the book of shops. So you could get that book of shops, and you could say, well, this one shop is in town A, these 2 shops are in town B, these 3 shops are in the big city. So like you said, you want that specific shop, you go there, and maybe you hear about that shop on the road. You're traveling between places, and a merchant says, do you know about the light crystal shop? You're like, oh, that's what I was looking for. Go to the next town. So, all right, moving on to our next question. This is a simple one in our big tome here. It is: can a reaction trigger a reaction?
Absolutely.
A huge cascade. So, counterspell comes up. Somebody casts a spell. I cast counterspell. The bad guy counterspells me. The dead professor counters my counterspell. Until you get run out of reactions.
Counter of your counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roy could cast a spell, dead professor could counter, and then I could counter the dead professor, and then you could.
I think we
do that.
had a 4 counter chain at one point, and we had to stop and figure out. I was like, all right, well, you roll first to see if yours works, and then you roll to see if yours works, and to figure out what actually happened.
Yes, yeah. So yes, a reaction can trigger a reaction. And I'll pull up an interesting little pro tip here, though. The sorcerer that the professor plays has subtle spell, which basically is cast without a verbal component. Is that it, or without any reaction?
No gestures or verbal component required.
All right. So sometimes a reaction has to be seen to react to it, right? So
you have to know someone is casting a spell to counterspell it.
Yes, you have to know. You have to know somebody's casting a spell. So if that person is behind a wall casting a fog cloud or a kill cloud, or a spell that doesn't require them to have line of sight, and you can't see them behind the wall, you don't know they're casting a spell, you can't actually do the reaction then. And counterspell is the big one. There are other reactions, as opportunity attacks. So somebody leaving there, that's a reaction, and that opportunity attack could trigger another reaction, maybe like intervening a shield or something like that. So as long as your distances are right.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the day Dave scores a crit on us, and our bard says silvery barbs, and Dave says counterspell.
I'm saving it.
Yeah, I like that one. That's gonna be.
We'll watch our bard cry. He's like, "Wait, what?"
All right, let's see. Moving on to the next question. How many times can a player forage in a day in a region? So I guess the question is, you only can take one long rest a day, or one long rest within 24 hours, I believe. Right? That's long rest. So, and how many short rests can you take? Is there any number in a day?
There's no limit. It's really up to the game master how many
Okay.
opportunities.
That makes sense.
you want to
Yeah,
do.
because you spend hit dice on a short rest.
You can.
Yeah, you can. So
Yeah. So, yeah. But now the question is, how many times can I forage in a region in a day? Is that a once a day type of thing? Is it once an hour?
I would
you
do
put it like into a block of time, like daytime, nighttime. What do you think?
I mean, for simplicity, I'd just do it once per day, and depending on what they're doing, if they're going hunting, that could be an 8-hour day of
Yeah.
setting up or tracking, and then harvesting it. That could easily be a day. I wouldn't do it more unless, of course, they found like a whole patch of food, and then they just got to grab it, and they
Would you
count
let
it. That
them?
count as like, oh, you got 2 days worth of foraging in this one spot or something. But I wouldn't allow them to do like
So
multiple.
basically once a day, right?
Yeah.
That's enough. So that
foraging
block
check,
time.
a fishing check, or a hunting check. Once per day, I would say.
Yeah.
I think maybe a little bit different than Dave. I think once like every 4 hours, because in 4 hours your terrain could change dramatically. So I don't think it's
depends on
unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to be like, all right, make your foraging check for the morning, make your foraging check for the afternoon. Because in the morning, maybe you were in the deep forest, and in the afternoon you're in hills, and you might find different things.
Oh, yeah, that I'd give an exception.
Something like that.
If you're consistently moving, I'd totally agree. But if you're just like, we're in our town, let's just go foraging.
I think foraging is defined as either a downtime activity or a traveling activity. So if it's downtime, it's kind of you forage for the day. You might get more, but you're spending a whole day doing it.
Sure.
And it's also a travel activity you can do when you're moving at a normal or slow pace, I think. But you'll get less.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our questions for today. You can contact us at darkalchemyltd@gmail.com. Links will be down below. So you can write your questions in. That is also our handle on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at Dark Alchemy Ltd. You can send us a message there and ask your questions. We're going to do more Q&As. You can follow DM Evanson on Instagram at DM_EVENSEN. So give him a follow. You can send him questions too. I'm sure he'd love them.
Yeah, I love any questions. I'd be more than happy to entertain them.
Adventurers Wanted, subscribe today. We're trying to grow our channel to 1,000. We'll be at the Long Island Convention Hard this weekend. Today is February 24th. This video will go up in a day or two. Catch us at Lich, and then we'll be at Long Island Tabletop the following weekend. Any pro tips to add, Dead Professor, about any of these questions? Anything I missed for this round?
No, I think almost all of these questions really come down to world building. I mean, if you're going to run a game, you've got to be prepared to flesh your world out a little bit.
Yeah.
There are lots of pre-published worlds with lots of information, but you're going to have to fill in the cracks.
Sounds good. I agree with that. I love the world building. I love learning about the world, especially it's one I haven't been in. I think that is awesome. DM Evanson, anything to add?
I totally agree. It's a lot of world building. These are also great opportunities to prolong travel. I mean, like if you're not prepared for them to get to the next town, these are good things to add. Add that fishing adventure, add a small encounter. If they just leveled up, maybe you do want to throw an encounter to test where they're at, and they get to try their new abilities out. So it all depends on what you're looking at, what the party likes, and how fast you need the story to move.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you for joining us for the Q&A tonight. Please like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, we will have more questions. Have a good night.
Right.